from a place called Forest Row in East Sussex, and I'm here because I'm a founder and co-director of a community benefit society called Frocal, which is about localization and resilience.
I am one of the fellow directors of Forest Row Localization. I am also the district councillor for Forest Row, and I just dream that we can make a much better world happen.
Forest Row is a very special place in that it's got the oldest Steiner school in the country, biggest one. It's got several biodynamic farms run on anthroposophic principles. It's got an adult education centre there. There's also, I think it's 7 different spiritual traditions with their headquarters within 5-mile radius of Forest Row. So there's something going on there. But it's an hour from London. It's half an hour from Gatwick. So there's a lot of folks who, of a certain age, you know, in the kind of melting pot of London, looking for places to educate their kids, maybe drawn to the alternative system of Steiner, gravitating there. So there's a really deep and rich pool of expertise there, and a lot of folks who've lived around the world. And so, yeah, it's unusual in that way. And it calls itself a village, but it's 5,000 people. So it's a bit of a misnomer. It's kind of nearer the size of a town. And then there's a whole ecosystem around folks who aren't actually living in the village, but gravitate towards it because of all the many things it has going for it.
Frocal was born out of perhaps the despair of what's going on in the world, and the feeling that the more that we are being pushed to globalize and destroy nature, the more we need to react by localizing and looking after ourselves and creating resilient communities that can be joyful and supportive and protect the environment.
And so when we first met, it was, or convened with each other, it was just before lockdown. And it became very apparent during lockdown that both corporations and governments can't actually get to the people. And we live in an incredible community where people really do look out for each other, but they needed more. And so we worked alongside individually with the local parish council, and it became clear that actually we needed more bridges and we needed to build communities because we can look after ourselves when we need to. And it allows us to, as a community, to know that we can hold on if we need to. If what we are seeing is coming, then we need to be ready. And we're lucky we're surrounded with farms, beautiful farms. We're in the middle of Ashdown Forest. We have a lot of resources. We're very, very lucky. And it started a process of us listening to people, what they'd like, and bringing people together to find that energy to make something happen. And that's what we do.
We set about, you know, feeling into what would we do if we wanted to kind of focus something in and around localization in Forest Row. Then the plague hit, so everything went on Zoom, but we had, you know, actually it was quite a seminal time that we could spend a lot of time deliberating on what is this, what are we doing, what's our focus. And much as we arrived at some strategies and some focus areas, I think as much as anything it really coalesced us as a group, and a few people came and went, and it's ended up being Kate, Patricia and I. And the more I do with them, the more I realise what amazing people they are and all the different things that they've done. So yeah, we've got a nice dynamic between us, and it's very much around catalysing and convening and connecting, not necessarily us taking on big initiatives and doing things ourselves. That's the strategy pretty much is that, to catalyse, not to take on and overwhelm ourselves. I think we've all been around having shouldered things like that over the years.
We started as a civil society organization, and more or less at the same time I was elected to be district councillor. So my work has been to increase awareness about how governance and democracy works in Forest Row, so people can actually engage. If we know more about the system of politics, we can actually use it for change. So we can do the work within civil society, but we engage it with the political. And that was 2019. I was elected as a Green. At District Council, we were 2 Greens. By 2023, we worked very hard, and we have now 11 Greens at District Council. So we have taken on 2 levels of government. And we also, Frocal, worked to get the Parish Council, take the Parish Council in a flat pack democracy style from Frome, copying from Frome. So we had 15 candidates and 14 seats. We won 14 seats. So we are doing the Frocal reduction of waste and increasing well-being and energy, where we're having all sorts of conversations, and at the same time we are making the team bigger, because now we have a parish councillor who wants to engage, a parish council that wants to engage, we have a district council that wants to engage, we have elected our first county councillor. So we're taking over all the levels of government so that we can use that as another arm to the work that civil society is trying to do.
And it's very much about being in service to community and giving community the opportunity to have a voice, because the narrative is very much led by our national governance, our MPs, and how much they really hear what the people who live in the villages and the towns and the cities really, what do they really want. And so that's the path that we're following.
Is that we take care of our own land and our own people wherever we are. But, what can we arrive at that are blueprints and templates that we can share laterally so easily nowadays? So, yeah, going on to, if we were looking just to catalyse what's happening in the village, where a lot has already happened, it's very progressive. It's one of the special places, I'd say, like Frome or Totnes or Stroud in the south of England. What can we do to amplify that? And so that started showing up as, okay, this governance piece, and then looking at flat pack democracy, kind of aware of that, aware of very nearly lived in Frome. So we set about using some of that resource to, Patricia designed a whole kind of program for folks who we approached individually to set about engaging in, an education process. What is government all about here, and what actually goes on, and what are the levels of government? And step by step, meeting, every month for 6 months over the winter, arriving at a group of people who wanted to run and a set of supporters who were willing to come in around that, recognising they couldn't run or they didn't want to, but they wanted to be part of it. And, drawing in expertise like Peter McFadden from Flatpack to really help us along the way. So that kind of came together with, amazing skill sets of people in the community that, do this at the top level around the world in terms of master planning, or working for the UN, or working in communications or graphic design, or you name it, like real rich pool. So we arrived at an identity and, a set of principles around we're independent, we're not political. We want to, come together, but be allowed and enabling each other to have our own independent perspective on whatever we're debating or discussing. But yeah, we got a group behind us, and I think the turnout for the elections before had ground to a halt, and there was half the people on the seats in parish council, and it was very, very traditional, conservative with a small c perspective on what that's for. Is the curbs nice and neat and tidy, and is there nice flowers in the flower beds, and we're good? Not, we're living in a polycrisis. How do we do everything we can? So we kind of, we had a 40% turnout and hundreds of votes each, and it was very different order of things. It was like a kind of national election turnout for a parish council election.
So the parish council is very keen to reach out. They have a community outreach group that is offering opportunities for people to come and And what are the things that people really want? We're asking them the questions. What do they really want? And they're coming up with some really interesting ideas. And it's about the things that affect them on an everyday basis. So whether it be potholes, whether it be rubbish, litter, whether it be the noise of something, it doesn't matter what it is. They need a space to be heard and for the opportunity for something to be done about that. And then that way, the parish council understand, they can build bridges to the district council build bridges to East Sussex Council. We all work together, not against each other, together for the community that we live in. It makes sense to me.
Yeah. And as you were saying, I think that we have a very unfortunate combination of unhappiness with what's happening and all of us being led by the national narrative and none of us understanding how we could engage. So if we don't understand that the parish councillors are making decisions, they have a budget, they can do things for us, and we're letting them do their work on their own, usually not in the interest of the community. If we don't engage with the district, we don't engage with the county. There are 4 levels of government in the UK. And one of my experiences in the first 4 years of being a district councillor, I've been re-elected in May, was I would ask this question to every resident that I met, and no one knew. No one knew. The question, who represents you if you live in Forest Row? No one knew. Now, people know more. People know that they have an active parish council, there was an election, incredible residents stood up and they know the district, they know the county, and we're also doing work with the community. So one of the things that have touched my heart most is a resident telling me that people in Forest Row feel hope because if they vote for a political party, that's the political party that wins. It's like, that doesn't happen much in the UK. But children are starting to feel that possibility of being engaged and having the power to change things.
My experience over the last few years in respect of traditional indigenous communities is like taking care of your patch of land and the people in it. It's kind of what we've always been doing for the larger course of human history. Yes, we have these modern structures, and actually that's very generative, very fulfilling. You know, Ian McGilchrist talking about, you know, social inclusion and being in and around nature are 2 of the main things we need to feel satisfied. So actually, we find it really fun working together doing this. We know each other, we like each other, we like where we are. All the in-jokes about, you know, that part of town or these folks, it's very tangible and mycelial stuff. It's village life, right? I'm really interested in, I've worked in renewables, and now, you know, energy generation lends itself to decentralization as well. We can end up with our own power plant in our village and own it. And that's very different from what's gone on for the last 100 years, 150 years. What does that then mean to our local economy if we, you know, in a few years' time there's no more combustion engines, transport, you know, heating? What does that mean if you then have those pieces in our community that are staying there, that you can then turn the resourcing towards, you know, other aspects of regeneration we really want to see, that don't, based on our own value system, that, you know, we've got these farms, right, we've got proper food, proper soil. Does that have to turn a profit? Does that just need to exist? You know, when did farming become valued by how much profit it makes rather than like, have you got enough food? Is that not the end of the conversation? You know, and so, yeah, definitely starting to sense into governance, energy, finance in this kind of virtuous, self-supporting circle.
Well, it's not a top-down narrative, it becomes a grassroots narrative, which is actually, this is what we'd like to see. And it is that simple, that suddenly people feel that they have the ability to actually put forward what their concerns are, or their hopes, or their dreams, or what they would like to see. It's important.
I think we need to use every single channel of action that we can. So we are doing the urgent. We are trying to reduce waste. We have opened supported the opening of a community shop in Forest Row. We are doing all sorts of things at the community level, and then seeing how much we can get done through politics. It has to be everywhere. It has to be everyone, all of us.
And I look at my son, he's 18 years old, and he looks me in the eye and says, "What did you do when it was that time?" I hope that I can say I did everything I could.